U.S. military just unleashed everything on Iran something, changed over Iran overnight. This was not another limited strike against one radar station. Not another warning shot near the Strait of Hormuz. Not a small, retaliatory mission designed to destroy one launcher and then disappear before sunrise. According to the reports now circulating, American naval and air forces launched a much broader operation across multiple parts of Iran at the same time. Cruise missiles reportedly rose from the vertical launch cells of a U.S. warship. Electronic warfare aircraft moved ahead of the main strike packages. Fighter jets approached from several directions. Hardened military facilities came under attack. Radar sites stopped transmitting. Communications centers reportedly went dark. Explosions were reported around coastal positions, missile infrastructure, and locations far deeper inside the Iranian interior. And for the first time in this phase of the confrontation, the operation appeared designed to do more than punish one Iranian action. It appeared designed to place Iran's entire military system under simultaneous pressure. The air defenses, the missile forces, the command network, the ports, the oil infrastructure, the maritime routes, and the financial machinery that allows the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to keep fighting. That is the meaning behind the title. The United States did not literally deploy every weapon it possesses, but it may have brought together nearly every major layer of its conventional regional strike architecture in one coordinated campaign. Ships, bombers, fighters, electronic warfare, aerial refueling, surveillance, cruise missiles, bunker-penetrating weapons, carrier aviation, and maritime blockade enforcement. Some of the most dramatic details remain claims rather than independently confirmed facts. Exact missile counts, the level of destruction, Iran's remaining stockpile, and reported plans involving Iranian oil infrastructure all require careful verification. But even after applying those caveats, the pattern is difficult to miss. Washington appears to be moving from limited retaliation toward systematic coercion, and that raises a much larger question. Is the objective still to change Iran's behavior, or is the United States now trying to remove Iran's ability to continue the confrontation at all? To understand why this escalated, begin with the reported trigger. The competitor account describes an Iranian drone striking an American Ah-64 Apache helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz. The helicopter reportedly went down over the water. Both crew members survived and were recovered. One account claimed an autonomous maritime vehicle helped reach them. Those operational details have not all been independently established. But the military significance is clear. An American attack helicopter had reportedly been brought down during active operations near one of the world's most important shipping corridors. Had the crew been killed, the political pressure for retaliation would have been even greater. Their survival may have prevented the incident from becoming a national tragedy. It did not prevent the United States from treating the attack as a major escalation. The first American response was reportedly controlled. Aircraft attacked Iranian air defense positions, radar systems, and surveillance sites connected to operations around the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. That kind of opening makes operational sense. Before a military can repeatedly strike targets deep inside hostile territory, it must reduce the defender's ability to see and engage the attacking aircraft. Radar provides the warning. Command networks combine the information. Surface-to-air missile batteries attempt the interception. Destroy or disrupt those systems, and every later strike becomes easier. The first night, therefore, appears to have been about opening the airspace. The second reportedly widened the target set. More radar sites. More missile infrastructure. More command and control facilities, more pressure on the coastal military network Iran uses to watch shipping and threaten vessels moving through the region. Then came indications that a much larger operation was being prepared. The competitor transcript describes dozens of Tomahawk cruise missiles being launched during one night. That exact number has not been independently verified here. But the operational concept matters more than the headline figure. A Tomahawk is designed to travel long distances at relatively low altitude and strike a programmed location with high precision. It does not need a pilot to remain over the target. The missile can be launched from a ship or submarine positioned far from the Iranian coast. Its route can be planned around known air defense sites. It can approach from a direction the defender may not expect. And several missiles can be programmed to arrive at different targets during the same narrow window. This creates a saturation problem. Iranian forces are not only trying to intercept one missile, they may be tracking weapons coming from the sea while simultaneously dealing with fighter aircraft, decoys, drones, and electronic interference. The defender must decide which targets are real. Which are most dangerous? Which radar should activate? Which interceptor should be fired? And which military site must be protected first? Every decision consumes time. Every interceptor consumes inventory. Every radar transmission may reveal the radar's position. This is where the F-16CJ Wild Weasel becomes important. The Wild Weasel mission exists to suppress enemy air defenses. The aircraft may carry anti-radiation missiles designed to detect and follow hostile radar emissions. When an Iranian radar operator activates the system to search for incoming American aircraft or cruise missiles, that transmission can become a targeting signal. The operator faces a brutal choice. Keep the radar active and risk attracting a missile. Shut it down and allow the attacking formation to approach with less warning. Even when the radar survives physically, forcing it off the air can be enough. An air defense battery that cannot safely search for targets may become temporarily useless. Electronic warfare aircraft can make the situation even worse. The E-18G Growler is designed to interfere with radar and communications. It can flood parts of the electromagnetic environment with noise. False contacts may appear. Real contacts may become harder to distinguish. Communication between radar operators and missile batteries can break down. The command center may receive an incomplete picture of the attack. This is one of the most important realities of modern warfare. The first target is often not the weapon. It is the defender's understanding. If Iran cannot build a reliable picture of what is approaching, its surviving missiles and aircraft become much harder to use effectively. Once that suppression layer is operating, heavier strike aircraft can move toward the hardened targets. The F-15E Strike Eagle is especially useful in this role. It can carry large precision-guided weapons and attack structures that ordinary fighter loads may struggle to destroy. Command bunkers, missile storage entrances, reinforced buildings, underground facilities. Weapons designed for penetration do not always produce the biggest surface explosion. Their purpose is to carry the destructive effect inside the protected structure. The bomb may strike rock or concrete, delay its detonation, and explode after entering the target. That can collapse tunnels, destroy internal rooms, cut power, damage ventilation, block entrances, or trap equipment underground. A missile does not need to be physically destroyed to be removed from the war. If it is buried inside a tunnel with a collapsed entrance, it cannot reach the launcher. If the command network is gone, it may not receive targeting information. If the fuel and support vehicles are destroyed, it cannot be moved. This is why reports of strikes against hardened Iranian facilities deserve attention even when satellite imagery shows limited surface damage. The real effect may be underground. It is also why claims of total destruction should be treated cautiously. A crater does not prove every chamber collapsed. A large explosion does not prove the most important personnel were present. Underground battle damage assessment is difficult. Some sections may survive. Emergency exits may remain usable. Equipment may have been moved before the attack. The responsible conclusion is not that every bunker was obliterated. It is that the United States appears to be attacking the protected infrastructure Iran believed would preserve its remaining military capability. F-35 aircraft may support this kind of operation in a different way. Their value is not only in carrying weapons. They can collect information, track air defense activity, share data with other aircraft, help identify which Iranian systems remain active, and contribute to a constantly updated picture of the battlefield. A radar that activates during one strike can become a target in the next. A mobile launcher that leaves a tunnel may be tracked. A command center that begins transmitting after an explosion may reveal that it survived. This creates a cycle. Strike. Observe the response. Identify what remains. Strike again. Carrier-based Fa-18 Super Hornets add another layer. Aircraft can launch from the sea without depending entirely on regional land bases. Destroyers and submarines can contribute cruise missiles. Airborne command and control aircraft can coordinate movement across hundreds of miles. Tankers can keep fighters in the air longer. Surveillance systems can monitor Iranian reactions. The operation becomes less like one bombing raid and more like a moving network. Each platform performs a different task. One jams, one searches, one destroys radar, one delivers heavy weapons, one refuels, one controls the air picture, one launches missiles from the sea. This is what makes the American system so difficult to counter. Iran may be able to threaten individual aircraft. It may be able to launch missiles at bases. It may be able to damage a ship. But defeating the entire connected architecture requires destroying many different capabilities at once. Iran's response reportedly involved missile and drone launches against American and Allied positions around the region. As always, damage claims from Tehran must be separated from independently confirmed results. Iranian officials may claim aircraft were destroyed or bases were disabled. Washington may minimize damage. Both sides have powerful incentives to shape the information environment, but the launches themselves matter because they reveal Iran's remaining strategy. Tehran cannot match the United States aircraft for aircraft. It cannot establish air superiority over the Persian Gulf. Its surface navy cannot defeat an American carrier group in conventional battle. Its strength comes from missiles, drones, geographic dispersal, and the ability to threaten many regional targets at once. American bases in Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates all require protection. Commercial ships need security. Oil facilities need air defense. Airports must prepare for disruption. Embassies must increase security. Iran's weapons do not have to destroy the U.S. military to produce strategic costs. They only need occasional success. A ballistic missile hitting an occupied building. A drone damaging a fuel depot. A strike forcing an airport to close. An attack raising shipping insurance rates. That is Iran's version of asymmetric pressure. However, the competitor transcript makes a major claim about Iran's ballistic missile inventory, suggesting it has fallen by roughly 90% from its earlier level. That precise figure should not be treated as confirmed without stronger evidence. Missile inventories are among the most protected military secrets in any country. Outside assessments can estimate launches, known production capacity, and destroyed storage sites. They cannot easily count every weapon hidden in tunnels. Still, Iran's launch patterns may provide clues. Smaller salvos. Longer pauses. Greater reliance on drones. Reduced coordination. More selective targeting. These patterns could indicate conservation. They could also reflect tactical choice, deception, or the movement of weapons away from vulnerable sites. The larger point is that Iran's missile inventory is not unlimited. Every launch removes a weapon. Every storage site destroyed reduces future capacity. Every factory damaged slows replacement. Every transport route disrupted makes delivery more difficult. The United States appears to be attacking the entire chain. Not only the missile after it reaches the launcher, the radar guiding the force, the command structure authorizing the attack, the tunnel storing the weapon, the road transporting it, the port receiving components, the power system supporting the facility, the financial revenue paying for the replacement. That final element may be the most consequential. Iran's military power depends heavily on oil revenue. Crude exports provide the government with money. That money supports salaries, procurement, weapons programs, foreign operations, and allied armed groups across the region. The competitor script focuses heavily on Karg Island, sometimes misspelled as Kar or Karg Island. Karg Island is central to Iran's oil export system. A very large share of Iranian crude exports has historically passed through facilities connected to the island. That makes it both economically valuable and militarily vulnerable. However, claims that the United States has permanently seized the island or assumed ownership of Iranian oil infrastructure would represent an extraordinary escalation and must not be presented as established without firm confirmation. Destroying or blockading infrastructure is one category of action. Occupying it and redirecting its revenue is another. The second could require ground forces, sustained maritime control, legal justification, logistics, and the willingness to defend the facility against repeated Iranian attacks. It could also trigger intense international opposition. So, the more careful strategic assessment is this. Karg Island can be threatened. Its operations can be disrupted. Ships approaching or departing can face interception. Infrastructure can be damaged. And the possibility of greater American control or blockade can be used as coercive pressure. Even that is enough to create a serious problem for Tehran. Military equipment can sometimes be rebuilt. Lost revenue affects everything. A destroyed radar harms one unit. A reduction in oil income affects salaries, procurement, fuel, foreign partners, and domestic stability simultaneously. This is why maritime enforcement matters. The competitor account describes an oil tanker ignoring American warnings and then being disabled with precision missiles aimed at its machinery. The exact vessel and circumstances require verification, but the concept fits a strategy of functional denial. The objective is not necessarily to sink the ship. Sinking a tanker could kill sailors and create an environmental disaster. Disabling propulsion sends a warning while preserving the vessel. The ship stops. Its cargo is delayed. A tug may be required. The insurer reassesses the route. Other captains reconsider whether to approach the port. One controlled strike can influence the behavior of dozens of vessels. A blockade becomes effective when ships believe it will be enforced. This maritime pressure connects to the air campaign. Aircraft attack coastal surveillance. Warships enforce restrictions. Cruise missiles strike military infrastructure. Financial sanctions complicate payments. Ports become dangerous. Oil revenue falls. The military and economic campaigns reinforce each other. Iran cannot easily respond by moving all exports somewhere else. Pipelines and terminals are fixed. Ports require power. Tankers require safe access. Alternative routes have limited capacity. Every diversion costs money. Every delay weakens confidence. This does not mean the Iranian state collapses immediately. Iran has survived decades of sanctions. It has developed smuggling networks. It can sell oil at discounts. It can use intermediaries. It can reduce spending. It can prioritize the military over civilian needs. And authoritarian systems can absorb enormous economic pain while protecting the institutions that keep them in power. That is why predictions of the IRGC's immediate collapse should be treated skeptically. A military organization can be weakened without being near death. It can lose radars and still launch missiles. It can lose ships and still use drones. It can lose revenue and still redirect remaining resources towards survival. The danger comes from the interaction of several pressures. Military degradation, economic constriction, leadership insecurity, infrastructure damage, domestic frustration, and uncertainty about how long the campaign will continue. The competitor script frames this as 3 tracks converging. That is a useful way to understand this strategy. The first is military. Destroy Iran's ability to threaten American forces, regional partners, and commercial shipping. The second is financial. Reduce the revenue that allows Iran to replace weapons and sustain the IRGC. The third is psychological. Convince commanders, officials, soldiers, business leaders, and the public that continuing the confrontation will only produce deeper losses. None of these tracks guarantees success alone. Military strikes can strengthen nationalism. Economic pressure can hurt civilians more than leaders. Psychological coercion can harden resistance. But together they can create difficult choices inside the Iranian system. Which sites should receive the remaining air defense? Which missile units receive replacement components? Which allies continue to receive funding? Which infrastructure should be repaired first? How much electricity goes to civilian areas, and how much to military facilities? How many senior commanders can gather in one location? How many oil tankers will risk the route? The United States appears to be trying to overload Iran's decision-making capacity. Every problem demands resources. The total demand may exceed what Tehran can provide. Yet this strategy carries serious risks for Washington. A campaign described as limited can gradually develop regime change characteristics. Striking oil infrastructure can destabilize global energy markets. Blockading commercial vessels can create legal and diplomatic disputes. Attacking dual-use power or transportation systems can harm civilians. A mistaken strike can hit a neutral ship. An Iranian missile can kill more Americans. A Gulf state hosting U.S. forces can be pulled deeper into the war. Israel may enter more directly. Armed groups in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, or Yemen may open additional fronts. The Strait of Hormuz could become too dangerous for normal commercial traffic. Oil prices could rise sharply. What begins as an attempt to compel Iran could become a regional war that neither side can easily control. There is also the question of the American objective. Does Washington want Iran to stop attacking shipping, abandon parts of its missile program, accept new nuclear restrictions, remove the IRGC from coastal positions, end support for regional armed groups, or fundamentally change the political structure of the Islamic Republic? These are not the same mission. A campaign without a clearly defined endpoint can continue expanding. Every successful strike creates confidence that the next one will achieve more. Every Iranian retaliation creates political pressure for another American response. The target list grows. The language hardens. Negotiation becomes more difficult because both sides believe military pressure is improving their position. That is the central danger of going all in. Military power can destroy an enormous amount. It cannot automatically create an acceptable political outcome. A radar station can be eliminated, a command bunker can be collapsed, a tanker can be stopped, a port can be blockaded. But the United States still needs an answer to the question that comes after the destruction. What must Iran do for the campaign to stop? And what happens if Tehran refuses? Iran's leadership may believe survival requires continued resistance. The IRGC may view surrendering its missiles, nuclear options, or regional influence as equivalent to surrendering its position inside Iran. That can make compromise structurally difficult. Diplomats may negotiate, military leaders may control the final decision, officials may offer temporary concessions, commanders may use the pause to rebuild. Washington may therefore conclude that only permanent physical restrictions can be trusted. That is how limited wars become wars over systems rather than behavior. The United States stops asking Iran to change one action. It begins removing the tools that make the action possible. Then it targets the revenue that could rebuild those tools. Then it targets the institutions managing the revenue. At that point, the conflict is no longer about one helicopter, one tanker, or one missile strike. It becomes a struggle over whether the existing Iranian military structure can continue operating in its current form. So where does the confrontation stand now? Based on the competitor account, the United States may be accelerating a multi-layered campaign against Iranian military and economic infrastructure. The reported tools include Tomahawk cruise missiles, air defense suppression, electronic warfare, precision fighter strikes, attacks on hardened facilities, carrier aviation, and maritime enforcement. Iran retains the ability to launch missiles and drones, threaten regional bases, endanger shipping, and impose economic costs, but its freedom of action may be narrowing as American forces attack the systems connecting those capabilities. The radar, the command network, the storage tunnels, the ports, the airfields, the oil terminals, the financial revenue. Some claims will almost certainly be revised. Some targets described as destroyed may remain functional. Some Iranian missile launches may have caused more damage than Washington admits. Some American assessments may prove overly optimistic. And the most dramatic claims about permanently controlling Iranian oil infrastructure require far more confirmation. But the strategic direction is unmistakable. This is no longer one isolated exchange. It is becoming a campaign against the architecture of Iranian power. The United States may believe that enough simultaneous pressure will force Tehran to step back. Iran may believe that surviving the campaign will eventually fracture American political will. Both sides are making a bet about endurance. Washington is betting that Iran's military and economic capacity will break first. Tehran is betting that the coalition applying the pressure will lose patience first. That is why the next developments matter more than the explosions already shown. Watch Iran's missile launch tempo. Watch movements at Karg Island and other oil facilities. Watch tanker traffic. Watch American aerial refueling deployments. Watch whether B-2 or B-52 bombers become more visible. Watch whether Iranian radar systems remain active. Watch regional bases in Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, and Bahrain. Watch whether diplomatic meetings continue behind the military statements. And watch the wording from Washington. Defend means one thing. Degrade means another. Punish is more dangerous.